Kurt's streaming his cat purring like crazy, apparently.
My cat is so happy that we're on the stick. He's not on the stick, I don't think.
He could be.
Tie stick. Something. Some drug joke. He's not actually. He hasn't had any catnip in a while.
So there was the G1, which is sort of the premier. It's not a tournament. It's a league. That happens in
Coalition.
Well, no, not like that. A league like a bowling league where you have points for each matchup and then it determines the winner. A league like that. It's a league event that happens every summer in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes.
No.
That just ended.
Okay.
And so I thought,
So wait, are these people professionals?
Yes.
Okay.
They're professional wrestlers. Amateur wrestling is a very different thing.
I know, but I'm not sure what you were talking about.
And so that just ended, and there was a sale on all Chunsoft's publisher sale on Steam. So I grabbed some of the DLC that I had not yet grabbed, and one of those things is there's a junior heavyweight single player DLC. So
Fire Pro World Wrestling.
For Fire Pro Wrestling World, yes.
Okay.
So the game itself was on sale. All the DLCs were on. Yes. So this is the first Fire Pro game to have a license from a men's wrestling league, which is an important distinction because there were games in the '90s that were Fire Pro games that were licensed by women's leagues.
I did not know that.
It's true. All Japan women.
Huh. Interesting.
And
go them.
Yeah, and so this is the first game to have licensed content from a men's league, and it is New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is currently the second largest promotion in the world after WWE, and is a very historic, old guard Japanese wrestling promotion going all the way back to the early 70s. I must be able to take my opponent's moves and put on an intense show. So the deal with this particular bit of DLC is that at the beginning you are playing as what in Japan is referred to as a young boy. Sometimes they say young lion now, but young lion is more complimentary. So you're a young boy and you're being trained by Jushin Liger, which is totally unlikely that you would just show up at without any experience previously, that you would just come to the New Japan dojo and Jushin Liger would train you, but it's a video game. So apparently this is one of the things about Fire Pro is that there's a lot of different modes and stuff, and so the idea here seems to be story mission. Okay. Use the Ukemi multiple times and achieve a match rating of 60. So that is the match rating of 60, I think, is gonna be the harder part. But this game does stuff like that, or this series of games does stuff like that, where it's not just about winning a match. It's not like playing a fighting game necessarily. Having a good match is part of it.
How do they define good?
Usually with a certain amount of back and forth, keep false finishes, comebacks. So if I just pummeled Liger here and then won the match, the game would not give it a good match rating, because just beating the hell out of your opponent is what is referred to in wrestling jargon as a squash. And
nobody wants that.
Nobody likes watching a squash. So the idea is to allow your opponent to have some offense and get a little bit of back and forth. Right, like that just there. I went for a clothesline and he did a drop toe hold. So, that's an example of like, that's a good spot, we would call it in wrestling. Actually, that's a really bad spot. It's a very basic spot, but it's a good, example of some back and forth and some. It looked like I had the upper hand, and then he did a move to me and that kind of stuff. So that's what the game wants me to do in this particular case. The game is actually running a little faster than it normally does. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. Don't know. So I got reversed and I lost, but it doesn't matter that I lost because the match was a 75% audience approval. So I cleared the mission. I got some training points, which I can use to up my stats, and I learned some new moves, or a new move. Kushida is explaining match psychology, so. Is there new chat, or am I just seeing the chat from last week still in here?
That's the chat from last week.
That is the chat from last week, okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Apparently it saves it.
Apparently. So are you playing anything right now, Kurt? Not like right this second, but, What are you playing?
I am playing Hollow Knight, as I mentioned last week.
Oh, yes. How's that? Are you still enjoying it?
I am. A few days ago I got to the Soul Master, and he kicked me around as he is wont to do. And then I was bitching to a friend of mine the next day, saying that I was playing it and that the Soul Master kicked my ass and fucked the Soul Master and so on. And then that night I went and I wiped him out in the first try.
Nice.
Of course, as soon as you complain about anything.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which one is the Soul Master? I'm trying to remember now.
He's the guy up at the top of the City of Tears that isn't the Dreamer.
Oh, yeah.
Flies around and slams down on the ground.
Yep. And then he breaks the floor, right?
Breaks the floor, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the problem is the slamming down on the ground part is tricky to deal with.
Yeah.
Hypebot says that Camaristico 350 is now following, and then Camaristico 350 says Yo Joe.
Hey, what's up, Camaristico?
Yo. So I'm playing that. I'm playing Final Fantasy 14. And,
are you playing Final Fantasy 14 with coffee?
I am not. He's on a different server than I am.
Not anymore.
You were moved to Sargatanas, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I moved off that server.
Probably for the best.
I was on that server, and then I moved to the other server where a lot of the folks are. That's a Japanese server.
Oh, sorry.
All the old school dudes.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally fine.
Your
I have no
latency's
problem.
gonna be terrible.
No, it's fine. Totally fine. I've been there for like a year and a half. I have no problem with it. Of course, I don't play high-level monk or whatever it is that you play that requires it to be split second.
So let's see what moves I learned.
What moves did you learn? Hey, Jim,
New.
what moves did you learn?
I don't know, but I've got new moves in all these categories, so let's see if we can replace this dashing straight with something a little more interesting than that. There's a heavy kick. Ah, the toe kick. That's a classic wrestling maneuver. I think I am going to leave the dash straight because I don't have another strong move to put in there, but we will replace this medium with the toe kick. And let's see here. We've got some running moves. Oh. Do the elbow butt. I can do the kitchen sink knee. I can do a standing switch. So let's see. Let's replace that with a forearm or elbow butt as they call it. Then we'll replace that shoulder tackle with. Actually, we'll leave the shoulder tackle. Well, we'll replace the shoulder tackle with the clothesline, and then we'll replace the clothesline with the kitchen sink knee. Because the kitchen sink knee is pretty great. Alright. Hip toss is a babyface move, so we're going to get rid of that. I don't want that. And we'll actually change that to the kitchen sink knee as well. Back body drop's really a babyface move too, so we will switch that to a drop to hold. So, this is, you know, this is one of those things where, like a lot of wrestling games, you sort of, we'll leave that way it is. Change that. When you unlock moves in a wrestling game, it's always like going through your whole move set to be like, okay, what am I doing? What am I changing now? And what are we changing here? Oh, we got a diving elbow. Let's leave the elbow drop there. But then we'll change that to a knee drop. I got the Dusty Rhodes Bionic Elbow to the top of the head. Cameristica wants to know what's with moving here. So, you know, basically, the short version is that, one, you know, we'd talked about doing Mixer previously. Eric likes it a lot. Like, Eric's always kind of liked it. You know, as do I like some of the features. I like the co-streaming thing is cool, but mostly there's been a lot of talk that YouTube does not appreciate shorter stream, or longer streams cause problems with the algorithm and basically mess with channel growth and all that good stuff. So rather than streaming directly to YouTube, we're checking out Mixer. I really, the big thing for me is the co-streaming thing. I think that's really cool, and I think that Eric and I tested it out with Overwatch last week, and I think that was nice to be able to kind of see what both of us were doing instead of one person talking. Instead of both people talking and only being able to see what one person is doing, you know. So yeah. I mean, plus, you know, Ninja's here now. Even though we made the decision before, we made the decision before Ninja publicly announced, so. But, yeah. So that's the short version. Okay. Switch that to a gut wrench suplex and. A little eye rake action in there.
The old eye rake.
Everybody's got eyes, man.
Camaristico says, I will watch regardless. Last I played a wrestling game, it was 6-man scramble.
6-man scramble's a good one. The problem the problem with the Fire Pro series is that it tends to iterate in such a way that there's not always a great reason to go back to the earlier ones. I think 6-man scramble still holds up, especially because the sprites are giant in that one. They were really trying to show off what the Saturn could do. But it's like this is sort of the ultimate you know, the ultimate Fire Pro game is the newest one. It's, you know, basically it. Alright, so we've done all that stuff. And we can finish our training. So now we've got some new moves to play with. We can... Yep, I didn't want to do a new save, but that's fine. 2 save slots isn't the worst thing in the world. And, taking the brunt of these refined moves is no easy feat. I can confirm that. People think it's real easy to get in there, but it is not. A lot of times, especially during camp, which this is supposed to be at this time in the game, man, I came home from camp with a lot of bruises, a lot of abrasions, a lot of map burn. You get roughed up pretty good. You'll learn moves, the most noticeable part of pro wrestling. Meet today's instructor, Ryusuke Taguchi. The funky weapon, Ryusuke Taguchi.
The old funky weapon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's been around forever. Yes. Yes, you should save your finisher for when it matters most. Something that WWE matchmakers seem to have forgotten lately.
They're called that for a reason.
That's right. Use a signature move 16 times and your finisher one time. Okay.
You would think that was
16. Yeah. What are my signature moves? I'm trying to remember. Okay, well, I can't dive off the cage, so that one's out. Northern Lights and the pile driver. The top rope brainbuster. Okay. That's one. That's two. Timing on the corner grapples is a little weird. Oof. Oh no. Oof. Well, I failed that one because I didn't hit my finisher, and I lost the match. I do appreciate that I can just skip. I can just act like I beat it. That seems weird, but you know. I guess if you just want to see the story and all the bits with the famous wrestlers. So sorry, Kurt. You said you did beat the boss that was giving you trouble in Hollow Knight, or you're still?
Yeah. No, I nailed him in my first shot.
Oh, right.
Once I was done complaining.
Oh, yeah, right.
So playing that. I took a break from playing Red Dead Redemption.
I didn't realize you were still playing Red Dead Redemption.
I was, and then I stopped to do some other stuff, and I haven't gotten back to it yet. I should do that, but I haven't yet.
I finally went back to Sekiro this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a little more time. I like it more than most From games, but I'm still not sure if I love it.
Because punishing, or
Yeah, it's just... It doesn't... I mean, I guess part of the thing, and part of the thing that people who play a lot of those games like about them, is that it doesn't really tell you a ton. So, like, there was a...
I mean, that's definitely the case for the Dark Souls type games.
Like, there was an encounter that I was having quite a bit of trouble with, and it was telling me, like, oh... like, I was getting some stuff from the game as far as, like, you know, use this kind of attack, you know, and I was like, okay, but I don't have any attacks that do that. So then I look up a guide, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And the guide is like, oh, you're supposed to use this weapon that you find in this other spot. And I'm like, I had no idea that was a thing, you know? And I had to go to this whole other area that I had just totally missed, you know, basically, and go do what I guess isn't really a side quest. It's part of the main game, but, like, it's apparently pretty missable.
Quest.
Yeah. But, you know, it like, I feel like you could go through the whole game and never, you know, never do that part. And,
I mean,
that was a little frustrating.
Thing you were fighting was not a blocker, though, right? Like, you could have.
I could have, yeah.
Gone to do something else. Okay.
Right. I mean, like.
Yeah, that's that sort of like adventure game thing where you know, you go and try and solve some puzzle, and you're like, I can't figure this out. And you're like, is it because I'm not figuring it out, or is it because I don't have a thing?
Right. But it gets a little frustrating when it's like, I don't, you know, you look it up and it's like, oh, you missed this thing that is, like, apparently, you know, pretty important to actually being able to finish the game.
Right.
You know, you just don't have it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, okay, well. So, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that I like about it, but there's also a lot of stuff where it's just like, I don't know. I enjoy it more than any of their earlier, certainly than any of the Dark Souls games or than Bloodborne. But I'm still not sure that I love it enough to, play through the whole thing, basically.
Yeah.
Talking about ninja games.
Yeah, well, one in particular, I suppose. He's not a ninja, Mike. He's a shinobi. Excuse me.
Wait, we're talking about Shinobi?
No, we're talking about Sekiro, but he is apparently a shinobi. That is how the game refers to him constantly. Never calls him a ninja.
Shinobi.
Calls him a shinobi.
Let's see. This is the most recent fipro game that you're playing, right?
Yes, sir.
This game looks simultaneously really bad but kind of good.
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely true. I'm not in love with how this game looks. It plays well enough to negate that, but it kind of has this smeary filter on, and did I not use my signature move 16 full times?
Did you use your finisher one time?
I did use my finisher one time. That part I made sure to do.
Did you guys answer Camaristico's question about moving to Mixer?
Yes, we did. We did. Alright, I guess we'll try this again.
Where did that photo come from?
Which photo?
The person in the mask with the long hair?
That is part of the DLC. That is Jushin Thunder Liger.
You're just making things up at this point.
No, I'm not.
Thunder Liger?
Jushin Thunder Liger is his name.
Wow.
Yes. And Jushin Thunder Liger is, to date, the only man... Well, actually, I guess he the only man who has appeared in every single edition of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500 since its inception. He is well and truly a legend of the professional wrestling industry. Which is sort of the tack that this game is taking, is that this particular piece of DLC sees you as an up-and-coming wrestler who wants to be a junior heavyweight, and since Liger is sort of the preeminent junior heavyweight icon, he's training you, I guess, which I don't think he actually trains very many people at this point, but,
It's a conceit.
It's a conceit, yeah.
I just realized what this game reminds me of, and I don't think it's a reference either if you're going to get, but it looks like Wonder Pets.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
It's a kid's show
I know of it.
that's all made using kind of photos that they cut out and animate, and so it has this same kind of smooth animation, well, sort of semi-jerky, but also kind of lavish in a weird way.
Huh.
It's framey, but nice framey.
Right.
So your guy just needs to start singing an operetta about how he's gonna body slam this guy, and then you'd be in an episode of Wonder Pets.
Huh. This is a Canadian thing then, obviously.
It was on Nickelodeon. I don't know if it's Canadian. It's a weird show. But the whole thing is in this operetta style. It's almost completely sung from beginning to end every episode.
Well, Mike, 90% of Nickelodeon's classic output was originally Canadian shows anyway, so...
I mean, we've been over this. I know Alistair.
That's right. Do you know Alistair, or...
Alistair.
I have been to his apartment, but he wasn't there.
Okay.
I have friends who have house-sitted for him. I've been in the same place as him on many occasions and spoken to him on those occasions.
Okay.
If you asked him who I was, he would probably say, "Oh yeah, that guy." There aren't that many Irish tenor banjo players in a 200-kilometer radius of Montreal.
Right. Right.
And we both are.
That's right.
Huh.
Yes, I did know that. I was trying to remember how you knew him, but now I remember that, yes, he...
He's a pretty good banjo player. I'm just saying. My brother is also a musician.
So was that show as much of a phenomenon in Canada as it was in the United States, or not so much?
I don't know, because the years when I watched it were the years when I was in the United States.
Yeah.
They didn't have cable when I lived in Canada. Are you kidding me? Cable?
Did they have cable in Canada?
Sure, if you were royalty.
Aren't you? I thought you were King MC Banjo Mike.
No, it's an elected position.
Oh.
I just want to say, has anyone figured out Mixer? Because I still have a blank space on my screen where Eric's stream should be underneath yours.
I don't know. I see, when I went to it, I did not see it. Yeah, well, Kurt, do you still see that?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. That's why I assumed it was under your control.
Yeah. After this match, I will try to see if I can...
Oh, and Aristico says their stream keeps freezing up. I'm guessing that's because we're in short lag mode.
Is it freezing up? Or I should say,
I haven't seen.
I have
issues.
noticed that it pauses if you shift focus somewhere else.
Oh, like change tabs and come back?
Yeah,
or?
if you change tabs or whatever, that happens. At least for me.
Huh.
I don't know. Today it's been going pretty smooth for me. But because we're in this short feedback loop mode of the streaming, it may cause problems for some people.
Right. I was gonna say I'm on Ethernet and I'm streaming 720, not 1080. So.
Yeah, it looks better for me than it did last time you streamed, but I don't know if that's just the way the internet feels today for you or me, or if it's a difference in resolution.
Right.
I don't think there's any point in streaming 1080 most of the time.
No, there really isn't.
So can you customize the refs and things too in this game?
You can customize everything in this game.
The logos on the ground.
Yeah, I can show you. I downloaded some. The mod community in the Steam Workshop is really fantastic. So, oh no.
Oh, that was a triple.
Yeah, that really is low lag. If you saw that, you basically saw that in real time.
But then it paused after that for a second.
This game is also a little herky-jerky, so it might not, But yeah, the Steam Workshop stuff is just really great. And there are custom arenas and all kinds of stuff that includes, recreations of the Raw set and the Nitro set and the classic SmackDown set and the current SmackDown set and the original SmackDown set and the Halloween Havoc 1997 set, including the Slim Jim style ring posts. It's that level of... Okay, I am just going to skip that mission because I don't know, what... I wonder if it has to be exactly 16 and exactly 1, and, I'm not counting every signature move I do to make sure I do exactly 16. That's annoying.
Has this guy ever appeared on Ultraman?
Jushin Liger? No, he kind of looks like it, though, doesn't he?
It's like he should be body slamming some skyscrapers or something.
Alright. Let's see here.
We're now watching you watch your stream.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to see...
Oh man, this is getting recursive. Now an infinite tunnel of windows going into the browser.
Yeah, and it's echoing too. Whoa, why can't I... Oh, there we go. Okay, so I can click back and forth. How do I end the co-stream? Manage. Oh, here we go. Kick on the stick. Yep.
I need to go. I'll be right back.
Okay. There we go. All right.
King of sports.
That's right. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Man, Terry Kavanaugh just put out Dicey Dungeons on Steam, but I really wish it was on phones.
Yeah.
There's a game that I would like to play on a phone.
I don't think I've played anything of his in a good long time.
I don't think he's put anything out in a good long time.
What was the last thing? Was Super Hexagon? Was that him?
Well, let me just click on the Terry Kavanaugh franchise on Steam.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Super Hexagon was the most recent one. Because on Steam he's only got 3 games. He has older stuff too, but I don't know. Maybe VVVVVV was paying his bills for a long time. It's a good game.
Yeah. I mean,
And it kind of hit back when it was kind of easier to have a huge indie game success. Although it wasn't on the consoles at the time, so I don't know if it ever got that huge.
yeah, I guess. Has it been on any console? Did it eventually come to like Wii U and stuff? Or
Yeah, it's been like on 3DS at this point, and I don't know what else. I think you can get it on the Switch. But back back in 2011 or whenever, when it was more possible to have a really big indie game hit on a console, I don't think that it was on any of them at that time.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I just finished off the Outer Wilds, and now I don't know what to do. I don't really have any game that's kind of jumping out at me. I just finished playing through Time Spinner, which I thought was actually pretty good.
Yeah, you were saying that's a very, very good facsimile of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
It wants to be Symphony of the Night so hard.
So hard.
It's kind of unbelievable how badly it wants to be that game, but actually it has more of the like dual castle thing that you'd get from like a not
Symphony of the Night?
Harmony of Dissonance, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, traveling back and forth between two different time periods on the same kind of basic map. Although it was much better implemented than in Harmony of Dissonance, which is very bad, in my opinion.
Hmm.
I never liked games where you have like 2 different versions of the same map, because I find it gets really confusing. Like what kind of stuff where you have and haven't been, and I don't know. I find it's more trouble than it's worth, but in this case, they differentiate them enough that I never really felt like I was retracing my steps, even though every once in a while you'd be like, oh right, I'm in the part of the map that's shaped like this. Anyway, it's a good game. It's not like an essential game, because it really does it owes a little bit too much to its inspirations, but it plays really well, looks good, sounds good, decent writing, probably better writing than Symphony of the Night, I suppose.
Did you say probably better than Symphony of the Night?
Yeah, well, the writing is not.
Oh, the writing.
fantastic
Sorry.
in Symphony of the
Yeah,
Night.
right.
The voice acting is great, but the writing.
Uh-huh.
I love that voice acting. I paid whatever $4 to buy Symphony of the Night on PSN as a classic, so that I could have it with the old voice acting when I already had it like through the Dracula X collection.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. People were really upset when the PS4 version used the new voice acting, and I was like, I mean, I don't. Whatever.
Oh man, I need that original Alucard voice. I need it in my veins.
Did you play? You haven't played Bloodstained yet, have you?
I have not.
You get some of that original Alucard voice acting in Bloodstained.
Oh, does he play Jeeble?
No, he does not play Jewel. He plays
He
someone
plays
else.
somebody else. Okay. Yeah, I will eventually get into that game, but I just finished like one.
7 Metroidvanias.
Well, I was gonna say I feel like there's another one, and I can't remember what it was, but yeah. I played a bunch of them lately, and honestly, also I find it a little expensive.
40.
Like 50,
I mean, it's
$50 here.
yeah. I was gonna say it's $40, but 50 Canadian, I guess. I mean, it's a 20-hour game. You know, I mean, I don't know how
Yeah, I
you
suppose-
determine
I
what
suppose that's
is
fair.
the. I mean, I paid 60 in the Kickstarter for the physical. Win the match with your finisher between the 15 and 18-minute mark. Okay, well, let's do it.
And Risco says that he and his brother always recite the dialogue to each other randomly. I think one of my favorite video game expressions of all time is the "what" that he says if you get transformed and you get stuck into a corner somehow.
Yeah.
Bat transform and get stuck into a space where you can't stand up.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the stuff is. I also didn't realize until I read the. Did you read the recent Polygon feature about? I mean, it wasn't written by anyone at Polygon. It was written by Jeremy Blaustein, but it was about. It was mostly about Metal Gear. About him translating Metal Gear Solid, but he says that he translated Symphony of the Night basically on his own as well.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And which he said was a valuable experience in terms of how literally to translate things, which I also find is kind of weird because he translated Snatcher, and that's a fantastic translation.
Yeah, I
But-
suppose so. Well, maybe he had more time for Snatcher. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get mad at it, even though "what do you hear" is a pretty corny line.
To say nothing of the entire introduction. But I think I love that the actor who plays Dracula does it all with such conviction. Like,
yeah, well, I think that's true.
what is a man?
Yeah,
I mean,
Alucard.
I would say Alucard. There are moments when Alucard feels a little bit like he's phony. His performance is a little sleepy at times.
I don't know that voice, man. He's got gravitas.
I guess.
Silky smooth.
What does he tell you when you put the game in a CD player?
Oh,
Like, this is a PlayStation format
yeah.
disc.
I you know what? I can find out the answer to that. I think I've got that somewhere.
Although, speaking of games or of translations, localizations that are charming, I was actually just watching clips of Fist of the North Star, like with the original English dub, and it's pretty charming. I mean, it's not good, but it's charming
As
in
you
its
can
way.
see, this is a PlayStation Black something disc. Cut number 1 consists of computer data. Anyway,
I love computer data.
you probably won't listen to me anyway, will you? And then you get like a techno song.
Right, yeah. It's a remix of a song from the game, isn't it?
Maybe I'd have to listen to it. All right, let's see here. Oh god, I don't even know what you call this kind of early '90s techno.
You just call it early 90s techno, Mike.
Yes, I don't recognize what song it would be based off of. It's not one of the ones that I could name for you anyway.
Right.
Eric was talking mess about the soundtrack. I'll admit that I don't love all the soundtrack to Symphony of the Night, but there's a good 5 or 6 tracks that I think are super good.
It has some tracks that are really good.
It has some standouts.
It has a couple tracks that predominantly use the harpsichord, which is my least favorite instrument, I think, in the world. So it loses some points for that.
I think mine is the saxophone.
Really?
Yeah.
Any saxophone, or just the Kenny G style,
No,
or
like,
all
I think-
saxophones?
I think like 80s pop rock song saxophone solo saxophone.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Like a Huey Lewis, kind of solo.
I can understand that.
Or like Bad to the Bone kind of saxophone,
Is there a lot of saxophone in Bad to the Bone?
Is there a saxophone solo at the end?
No, maybe. I just heard the beginning of that song because I saw Terminator 2 in the theater last Friday, but, only the beginning of the song plays in
That's
that
a weird
movie.
song to play in Terminator 2.
At the beginning, when he gets to close the boots in the motorcycle and he steps out of the bar and plays Bad to the Bone. Have you not seen Terminator 2?
Not all of it.
You really have not seen a lot of movies, have you, Mike?
Nope. That's a fact.
I like the attention to detail in this game. That when I taunt in a training match, there is no crowd to react, so it's just silent.
That's pretty good. It's really funny watching all these people with new Mixer accounts level up in real time.
Yeah, it's really. Kurt and I were talking about that last week because I was going to see the Terminator. I played the Terminator
I saw some
on
of that.
Sega CD last week, and
I was present for some of that.
yeah, and we were laughing at how Snarcast was leveling up constantly, and we were just like, what is going on with this?
You actually have, like, the funny thing is the chat feed does not seem to reset between...
No,
screens,
yeah,
so-
it doesn't. It's weird. We were commented on that when we first started. I was like, is it just me? Because I use the phone app because there's an option on the phone app to see only the chat, so I don't like totally drain my
Okay,
battery,
yeah.
which is nice. Yeah, and I was like, is it just me? And Kurt was like, nope, that's... I'm seeing the... So yeah, I don't know what's up with that, or what. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense that it would just be like a consistent thread of chattingness. I don't know.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey, Kurt.
Hey, Kurt. Meow.
You happy joining us?
Who was certainly joining me. It's so terrible that the other cat is outside. So terrible.
So, Joe, I got a very Joe drilling kind of thing that I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah.
About, I don't know how much you are aware of this, but in a couple of weeks I'm going to be turning 40.
Yes, I've heard.
Mm-hmm. And my in-laws have decided that they want to get me something kind of nice to celebrate my turning 40, and I couldn't really think of anything. And then I thought about it some more, and I think what I've decided on is maybe a Super NT.
Oh, nice.
Celebrate my love of all things Super Nintendo related.
Yeah, that's a good option. I like mine. And actually, you're in luck, timing wise, because they just released the new Jailbreak, which is actually allows you to load games from an SD card, and it supports more add-on chips than an EverDrive.
Oh, the SD card loading is new also. I thought it was
Well, it's just the
part.
add-on. Yeah, it's the add-on chip part is the new part.
Yeah, well, that's good because I'm never going to buy a cartridge copy of Mega Man X2.
Yeah, that was one of the games I tested. I can confirm that it works.
I mean, X2, X3. I'm guessing it doesn't do Super FX, does it?
That was not on the list. I don't believe. I didn't actually test it to confirm or not because I think it was just not on the list. So I didn't.
Yeah, my only sadness is that I really like the sleek looking black ones, but they stopped making those a while back. It seems like.
Really?
From what I can tell, they were the ones that took the longest to sell out. But then after that, they only re-upped the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom versions.
Huh. Interesting.
Did you get the 8-bit Do controller with yours, or did you?
I did.
Yeah.
I
How do you
did,
find
yeah.
that?
I like it. I like their controllers. In general.
I actually have one that I think is compatible already, which is the Super Famicom style one, and it's okay, but it's not like top tier. Thing about it doesn't please me quite as much as the real deal ones. Like, I really, really like the controllers that came with the Super Nintendo Classic,
Yeah.
which I feel did a very, very good job of recreating the old ones. I mean, I have like 5 original Super Nintendo controllers also, but I'm a very big fan of wireless controllers.
Yeah. Their what's it called? 2.4 gigahertz are better. They're lower lag. Although I actually did. I went ahead and did the 240 test suite lag test when I was testing out the side loading and you don't need an add-on chip to run the 240p test suite, but I did it, and the lag even on that wireless controller, and I mean, you're considering that I'm talking about display lag to a certain extent, right? Because I have an HD TV, although it's 1080 that I'm playing in natively, so there shouldn't be too much display lag, but like it exists. And with their wireless controller, their Bluetooth one I'm talking about, the Super Nintendo one, it was still averaging less than 1 frame of lag.
With the Bluetooth one?
Yeah.
The
When I
2.4
tested
gigahertz
it.
would be even faster.
Allegedly, the 2.4 gigahertz one is 3 milliseconds. Is what I have the Genesis. I have the Genesis 2.4 gigahertz
That's
one.
less than a frame.
And Todd's Nerd Cave and somebody else like put it through its paces like with an oscilloscope and all the fancy shit and found that it was averaging 3 milliseconds of lag.
That's pretty good. So the ones, I'm just having a look at their website now. The ones that they advertise here, are those 2.4? They say lag free.
It should say Bluetooth or 2.4.
I'm just trying to find it because they don't actually sell those through their website. They just
They link to them on Amazon. Yeah.
I'm having trouble finding that thing. Oh, you go to the store page.
All right, I'm
Oh,
gonna
let's see.
try to win this match against Liger one more time and finally earn the right to turn pro. And if I win, lose or draw, I'm gonna call it. I think after that, 'cause it's getting later. But yeah, I don't know. I like the Bluetooth one just fine. It feels like a real Super NES controller. It's one of those things where like I don't know that I would be surprised to find out that they got a hold of the original molds. Like it feels that close to a real Super Nintendo controller to me. Although
the 8-bit Do one or the Super Nintendo Classic?
the 8-bit Do one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure the Super Nintendo Classic one did use the original molds. I would hope. But yeah, I like the controllers I have from them quite a bit. I also the Retrobit Saturn controller I bought recently is also good.
Yeah, I don't remember
But
the details of that. Is it wireless or is it
no,
wired?
it's wired. It's got a very long cord though, which I appreciate. Way longer than a standard original. I mean, it's apparently it like they're licensed by Sega, so I think they're using the original molds, I believe. They feel good, and yeah, the controller cord is like 10 feet long, which is fantastic. Let's see. Snarkcast says, "Are you playing this on Steam or PS4?" I bought it when it was in early access on Steam, so this is the Steam version. Plus, the Steam version has all the Steam Workshop stuff, so I don't have to make my own version of Demolition. I can just download somebody else's. It's really great.
So for the record, the one that they advertised for the Super NT is the Bluetooth controller.
Right. That was
At
the
least
one
that's
that
they link.
Yeah, that's the one that I got at the time. But I don't think the 2.4 gigahertz one was out when the Super NT came out. But I think you can still just buy it. The only problem with that is you can't sync. Like the Bluetooth one is nice because you can sync it with your Switch, which is pretty nice. I used it quite a bit during the Contra Marathon. I used my 8-bit Do Super Nintendo controller. Apparently, their new controllers are really nice because you can remap the buttons on the controller itself.
Oh.
Which a lot of people have said is a thing that they like.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out if 8-bit Do makes a receiver for 2.4 gigahertz on the original Super Nintendo.
I think so. I thought they did. I think the problem with the story mode stuff is that you're so weak, especially compared to like Liger as a legend. So his stats are probably ridiculous. So trying to beat him is maybe a little easier said than done. Yeah, I thought they. Let me see if I can find it. Because
The one that plugs into the Super Nintendo, I think, only does Bluetooth.
I think I think when you get the 2.4 gigahertz one, it comes with the receiver, but it's not. It only. You can't sync it with anything else. Like the Genesis controller I have came with the thing that plugs into my Genesis, but I can't sync it with anything but the receiver it came with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you go on the website and look at the receiver that plugs into the Super Nintendo, it says compatible with 8-bit controllers, excluding 2.4 gig.
Yeah, right. That's the retro receiver or whatever, right? So yeah, the 2.4.
I think that's for the the SNES Classic, right?
There's one for the Classic, but I think maybe it is just for the Classic. That's annoying. I thought they made one for the. Yeah, looks like those are only for the Classic. That sucks. I don't know why the Genesis is special. That Genesis controller is great, though.
More recent, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I love that Genesis controller. If there was a NES or Super NES 2.4 gigahertz receiver, I would probably buy controllers for those systems as well.
But although you were saying that based on the things that you saw, that it isn't really that much lag anyway.
Yeah, based on my testing, if I was set up with my capture card right now, I would actually do a lag test, but that would take like 10 minutes to set up my capture card and everything. So I'm not going to do it right now. But take my word for it. It was between 1 and 2 frames of lag, which is like within a margin of human error. You know what I mean? Like it was. I have not had any problems with it. I haven't tried to play like Super Punch Out that I can think of off the top of my head with it or anything, but it's legit. It's responsive. I haven't had any problems. Most people, your human brain and feeble human eyes can't detect it like a frame or two anyways. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, it works with all original controllers too, and I know you have a regular Super Nintendo, right?
A standard Super Nintendo. Like I said, I have like 5 original controllers.
Yeah. So you'll be fine. But I would definitely invest in. I have a 32 gig. Let me double check now. I kind of do want to set it up, to be honest, but I'm gonna take a look here. Should have thought of that. That's what I should have done tonight, is messed around with the jailbroken firmware. But I have a 32 gigabyte card that was in my Super EverDrive and is now just side-loaded into my Super NT, and it has the entire Super Nintendo library on it. So,
is it micro SD or regular SD?
I have it. The card itself is actually a micro SD card, but it has to go in an adapter because it is a standard size slot.
Good. I think I have a 4 or an 8 gigabyte.
You could probably fit any game that you would realistically want to play.
Yeah, I don't want every game. I want the good games.
It's just the nice thing about having the whole library is that if I discover a game, like if I see if someone makes a YouTube video or someone tells me at a convention or whatever, or someone says something in the chat about like, oh man, there's this obscure Japanese Super Famicom game that's super good. I don't have to do anything. I'm just like, okay, I'll just boot it up because I have it, which is nice. But yeah, the Super NT, I'm really happy with it. I don't know what Analog is up to now because they have,
right?
Yeah, they have trademarked.
There were rumors. Going with field hockey players.
Yeah, they trademarked Analog 8 and Analog Pocket. I feel like Analog Pocket. I mean, it could be a Neo Geo Pocket, but that seems really unlikely. My guess is that
Game
it's
Boy and Game Gear.
I mean, I don't even know if Game Gear. I feel like, I mean, that would be nice, but honestly, I'm expecting Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance because the pinout is identical for all three of those. So that's my guess.
Game Boy Advance core?
Probably. I mean, it's.
I think Game Gear would be free, right? Because they have already got.
They already have that figured out. And I think the jailbreak on the NT Mini had a Game Boy core as well, I believe. And the rumor, maybe it's confirmed. It's a rumor. I'll say rumor because I don't want to say something is when I don't know that it is. But someone could correct me if I'm wrong. But the rumor that I heard was that the NT Mini's jailbreak was actually done by Kevtris himself.
Right. What is the legality of the jailbreaks? Like, are they going to give you a hard time if you put one on your system?
So Analog has said openly that they are not in the business of telling people what they can or can't do with a piece of equipment that they personally own. That's the company line from Analog.
Right.
So... and also, you'd have to ask Smoke Monster. He knows more than I do about it because he's the one who distributes it's his GitHub page where all the jailbreaks tend to wind up. But he says that they're brick proof, basically. Like if it does mess up, you can load an official firmware from an SD card and it will automatically overwrite. Like the cool. Systems are basically not brickable, is my understanding. So
that's good to hear.
Yeah, so the Analog 8 I'm interested in, though, because I'm curious about if that's just another... Because they don't sell the NT Mini anymore, I think in part because the jailbreak made it so that they didn't want to put themselves out of business, and not be able to sell other systems later. But I'm wondering if the Analog 8 is if it's just an NES, because 8-bit, or if it's something...
Like NES Master System.
Right, if it's something like the Retron 5, the Analog 8, but it's systems that they feel like they couldn't sell individually. Like they can sell a Genesis individually, they can sell a Super Nintendo individually, but maybe the Analog 8
sell a Nintendo separately.
Right, but they probably couldn't sell a ColecoVision and a Master System, and although the Mega SG. We'll play Master System games with a card adapter. It comes with a card adapter to play Master System games. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of wondering if it isn't, something where it's a bunch of older 8-bit systems like, Atari 5200 and 7800 and NES and Coleco and
how many of those made their way onto the NT Mini?
I would have to double check. Let's just...
Actually, more pertinent to me is, do you think there's ever any chance that someone will jailbreak the Super NT to also play NES games?
Jailbreak the original NT to play?
The Super NT.
For the Super NT to play NES games?
Super NT is powerful enough to run NES games, right?
Yeah, I mean, presumably. But... I don't know. I don't know if they will or if they, would. Let's see. Bring me up here like that. Okay. Let me see what is all in that jailbreak.
He's just ruminating. How's your crabs doing, Coffee?
Alright. I was gonna stream it tonight, but
then he decided not to.
Well, I thought we were gonna do half and half, but it's too late now.
I told you to do it at the beginning.
The crab has a shotgun.
That seems ridiculous.
And a chainsaw.
I feel like I hear Kurt talking, but I don't hear him very well.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, I do.
I do.
was saying Crab has claws. It doesn't need those things. It's just overcompensating.
Well, it uses the claws to pull the trigger. To shoot.
Let's see here. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay. Let's see here. NES, Master System, Game Boy. There's more than this though. Let's see if there's a menu that will. Okay, here we go. NES and Famicom, Master System, Game Gear, Coleco, Game Boy Color, Atari 2600, the Watara Supervision, the Gamate, the Game King, the Fairchild Channel F, the Atari 7800, the Arcadia 2001, the Creative Vision, the Video Brain, the RCA Studio 2, and the Odyssey 2, and the Adventure Vision, I think that is.
So that's plenty of stuff. That was all in the NT Mini?
That was the NT Mini jailbreak, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if they wanted to recreate some part of that, the question then would be, what kind of hardware do they include for plugging cartridges in?
Yeah, I mean, that really is the question, right? I mean, they might just do several slots like the what the hell was I just talking about? The Retron 5.
Retron 5.
Yeah, just do a bunch of slots on the top of the thing or whatever. I don't know. I'm curious to find out what they do. I mean, or maybe they're gonna go ham and try to compete with what's that thing that's coming out? The Polymega is what it ended up being called, right? That thing, because their whole thing is it's this modular system, but the base unit has the CD drive, which plays like what? Saturn, PlayStation 1, Neo Geo CD, Sega CD. Is that it?
I don't know.
You know, so maybe they're gonna do something that does, you know, NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and try to compete with that. But I feel like that would be an expensive piece of equipment. The irony, of course, being that it doesn't really have to be an expensive piece of equipment. The Mister does. I mean, geez, the Mister does a lot of stuff, you know, at this point, and that's $130 piece of equipment before you put any add-ons on it. But even after you get, I mean, it's still less than $200 once you get the RAM board, and if you get the I/O board and a USB hub and everything, like, still less than $200.
You say that
about $200.
those prices were lower than they should be because it's an education thing, and they.
That's correct. Yeah. It's Microsoft or whoever subsidizes the cost of the device. Yes, it's subsidized. So yeah, when you buy it for $130, they're taking a hit on it because it's
learning
for college students to learn programming and stuff. But
well, all I really would like to know is if someday I'll be able to play Nintendo games on the Super NT.
I don't know. I don't know that I have a good answer to that. It seems like it's at least possible. But I mean, obviously the FPGA that's in the Super NT is at least as powerful, if not more so, than the one that was in the NT and the NT Mini.
I would presume so, but who knows?
Yeah, and we know that the Mister can do Super NES and Genesis and Neo Geo, and you know, I mean, so.
But do we know if the Super NT is as powerful as the Mister?
That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it actually powers the Super. Let's see here.
Welcome to your FPGA speculation stream.
Yeah, no kidding. I wish Smoke Monster was here. Altera Cyclone 5 is what's in the analog Super NT.
That was my first car in high school.
Yeah.
Altera is the evil corporation that you work for in Subnautica.
Spoilers.
Not a spoiler, it's the first thing you hear in the game.
But they're evil.
The boot up on your Altera iPad.
The DE10 Nano
It doesn't take very long to
has.
realize that they're evil.
It's actually
Alright.
it's the same chip. It's an Altera Cyclone 5.
Huh. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm here for the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom stuff, but it would be pretty cool if somewhere down the line I could get a really good NES emulator and even Neo Geo out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm very hip deep in all this stuff now. So the next thing I'm going to do, actually, involving FPGA stuff, is the reviews came out, or some reviews came out today for the Genesis Mini.
Yes, looks like it's pretty good.
Yeah, some people have complained about some of the sound stuff, that's par for the course for any Genesis thing, because
That's because the Genesis itself has different sound output depending on what version you get, right?
Right, exactly. So,
Short of offering all three options, it's going to be impossible to please everyone.
which apparently the Mega SG has a switch where you can change which version of the sound emulation.
Well, sure, but that's a $200 standalone.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but my next FPGA related thing is going to be, I'm planning to do an episode of Same Name Different Game Guide Den at the end of September, comparing the Genesis Mini with original hardware and with the Mister, just to
Nice.
sort of put them side by side and see, and actually probably also with the one of those Genesis collections, whether it's the Switch one or the whatever. So
The
just
Xbox 360 one.
Yeah, just to get a sense of like, this is sort of what you can expect. So that's kind of my plan at this point. I pre-ordered one. We'll see, how that all works out. But I think for me, those mini consoles are generally not for me. I'm not the audience for those things, because I have all my original hardware and I have a bunch of EverDrives and I have all that. And I have a big pile of old games. So,
They're for me. I think they're cool.
Yeah, you hacked your NES and your Super NES Mini, right? You hacked them both.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a PS1 Mint Classic or whatever it was called?
No, because the emulation quality seems to be pretty bad from what I've heard.
Apparently, if you hack it, it's not as bad anymore.
Well,
but I guess
think
they
it's
didn't.
still not great, though.
The price did not drop as precipitously in Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
No, although at some point, if I want something badly enough, I can order it from the States and get my parents to just hop over the border and pick it up. So I could have gotten one, but I didn't. I thought I'd be disappointed by the emulation quality. Like the tiny Nintendo and Super Nintendo, they're not perfect, but the emulation is really solid. Like it's very good. The tiny NES was not designed to play some of the games that I loaded onto it. So like the one thing that I actually noticed is that Mega Man's landing on the ground sound plays at the wrong pitch in the later Mega Man games on it. But like, I can get over that. And otherwise, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And they have great interfaces, which is really nice.
Yeah, I do really like the interfaces on those. There was something else I was going to ask
And I actually
you.
quite frequently will like take them with me when I go traveling.
Yeah.
So that, I can anywhere you go, if you can find a TV, you can hook it up and.
Yeah, that's part of what I mean. People are like, "Why did you get a Mister?" And a big part of it is like, because it's really portable, because it's it's this big. So
I have like a little container that you might use for like keeping flour in your pantry, and it's just barely big enough to stick everything you need to travel, either the NES or the SNES Mini. So like I just kind of shove that into my luggage and I'm good to go.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Apparently, the new version of BSNES, which is Heigen.
You mean Heigen?
Yes. Well, Heigen is a multi-system emulator now, and BSNES is the Super Nintendo emulator part.
I didn't realize that BSNES was a going concern.
Yes. So the way that Bu has now categorized it is the entire suite, his entire emulation project is Heigen or Heigen or however you pronounce it. And the Super Nintendo component of that is BSNES.
Okay.
But there's a new version of BSNES that apparently is just like BSNES was already ridiculous, but...
So I can't get Heigen to run nicely on my computers, like my home computers, which have like i5 or i7 processors and graphics cards, and like I find that it drops frames. Or I don't know. It doesn't say that it is, but it doesn't feel smooth. Like it feels less good than playing games on the tiny Super Nintendo. And so one of the things that I was doing earlier this year is I was playing that crossover Zelda 3 Super Metroid randomizer, and that's a game that doesn't play well on most emulators, so I was using Heigen for it, but I found it was very not pleasing to play. Like the controller feel felt all off to me. And like I have Super Nintendo and I have a Super Nintendo and I have Super Metroid, so I know what that game is supposed to feel like, and it seems like everything I played on the small Super Nintendo Classic has felt really good to me. But for some reason, I don't know if I got it configured wrong or what, but I can't get Heigen to play in a satisfying way on either of my computers. Both of which should be like way strong enough to do so.
Yeah, right. So apparently, that's right. One of the big things in that update, the most recent update, was you can overclock Beast Nest now, and apparently
to remove the slowdown from something.
Right. So like Gradius, you can make Gradius 3 run at the correct speed.
Yikes.
For example. What I'm still interested to I don't know, now that with the new jailbreak on the Super NT, I'm not really sure if I'm still kind of in the market for a SD to SNES Pro, but one of the lures of that for me was, aside from the Super FX chip games, was the hack, the Victor Vallela hack of Gradius 3 that uses the SA1 chip, and so it doesn't slow down because it runs.
And do you think you could run that on the jailbreak Super NT?
I'm not sure. I actually need to double check if.
Find out.
Yeah.
You should just try it.
I should just try it. I don't actually have that. I don't have that game, I don't think, right this moment, though, because that patch came out after. But no. Here we go. DSP1234 support, OBC1 support, ST10 and ST11 support, and CX4 support. So
no SA1?
So no SA1 and no Super FX 1 or 2.
Right. Well, I can live without Super FX because the only game that I actually... Star Fox is okay. The only game that I would actually want to play with a Super FX chip in it is Yoshi's Island, and I have a Japanese cart of that, so I can get my fix if I need it.
Yeah, Yoshi's Island. I have an American cart, but yeah, I have that on cartridge.
Japanese version, very similar.
Doom is interesting. I don't know that. I mean, that would
I'm
be
not enough of a historian to want to play games just because they're interesting.
Right. Sure, and that's totally understandable. I don't know. But I've been thinking about sort of. I was telling Megan this recently. I'm thinking about rejiggering my collection to be more about quality than quantity. So I'm thinking about trying to offload some stuff so I can get some cash so I can buy more interesting stuff.
Well, wait. I thought we just said that interesting and good were not necessarily the same thing.
They're not necessarily the same thing, but I mean, right now I just have a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is neither interesting nor good. And even some of the things that are neither interesting nor good are expensive, and I feel like I could unload them for a little bit of cash and shore up the more interesting sort of conversation pieces. And also, I mean, I've gone and bought an arcade board, Mike, so I mean, that's a rabbit hole that has no bottom. No. Were you here when I was talking about that last week? Did you miss that conversation?
You told me that you picked up some wrestling game.
Yes, WWF WrestleFest.
I'm going to type that into Google and see if it's one that I recognize.
It probably is, honestly.
WrestleFest arcade game. Yeah, I think that's the one they had at my local arcade. It's like, it kind of looks like a Super Nintendo game, or roughly, in terms of like, well, maybe a little fancier because the sprites are pretty big. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Insert coin, Reagan. Oh, I thought it said Reagan Power. It's Regain Power.
Regain Power, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll let you know once I'm old what I think of the Super NT. And, hopefully it will be good. Maybe I'll get some cartridge cleaning tips from you, because I don't know. I have a hard time getting my Super Nintendo to start sometimes, but I don't know whose fault that is.
So, I'll give you the very basics right now, because it doesn't take much for the very basics. The easiest way to clean cartridges, and the way I've done it since I worked in a game store when I was in college, is the initial thing is just, I use Windex. Some people use isopropyl alcohol. I use Windex and a Q-tip. You can use isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip. Do it once wet, and then use the dry side to sort of dry it out.
To remove the thread.
Yeah. If that
Do you just
doesn't
assemble
work,
them, or do you just do the contacts?
no, I just do the contacts. But if they're stubborn and they still won't work, then it's time to get a clean eraser and a game bit, and then you open them up, and then you very fastidiously use an eraser on each contact.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if I'll need to get that far.
But if you're going to jailbreak it, then just make sure the contacts on your SD card are clean.
What I would actually like to do,
Except for your Yoshi's Island 2. Make sure your Yoshi's Island 2 is the contacts are nice and clean.
You can use the Super NT to rip your carts.
You can use the NT Mini to dump games. I believe the jailbreak for the Super NT will let you dump your games, and including your save files. So there's been this thing going around lately. People have been talking about this. In fact, Corey and Mark at My Life in Gaming did a whole video about saving your save files, because some people are, I guess, very attached to their childhood save files. I don't really have that. The only thing I'm attached to is not wanting to do the work again to unlock all the crap in like Tony Hawk 3.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Those Super Nintendo games don't have unlockable
Right.
carryover.
Right.
It's for people who played 150 hours of a JRPG and got all the characters up to max level or something.
Yeah, right. And so, that's
the copy of Secret of Mana that I bought about 13 years ago at this point. It came with a save on it that someone had maxed out every spell and every weapon on every character. They must have spent over 100 hours playing that game.
Yeah, that's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
I've kept that save.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Out of respect. I almost felt bad buying that cart afterwards. I was like, man, because I bought it from clearly this person's mom.
Yeah, right. That's definitely that. My copy of Snatcher 100% came from somebody's mom, like 100%, because it didn't have a manual. Didn't have a manual. That's a thing that I would like when I'm talking about getting rid of stuff and shoring up my, the more interesting parts. I would like to find a manual for my copy of Snatcher, which is going to be like $50 for like 10 pieces of paper, which is insane. But the game, it would go up in value considerably if it was complete, so it'd be worth it. But but anyways, it was an eBay auction. It was like an open auction, and it was Snatcher without a manual, and then like Super Battleship and like NBA Live 94 and like just a stack of super random common ass Genesis games, and that was how I got my copy of Snatcher, and it was like $80. And yeah, it's weird.
Well, you want to call it for now?
Yeah, for sure. I actually am just talking on Smoke Monster's Discord to a dude who makes super guns, and that's gonna be that's the next thing, is getting a super gun to go with that arcade board that's sitting over there, and I'm gonna stream as soon as that happens. That was gonna be like the first thing I stream is legitimate, for real WWF WrestleFest from a real arcade board. So, and then it's all downhill from there. So I actually really want to, before we go, I guess just to finish that thought, one of the more interesting things that I want is a guy named Darksoft makes a CPS2 EverDrive, basically. It's not an EverDrive because Crix makes EverDrives, but this guy Darksoft makes a flash kit for CPS2 boards. So I would be able to
swap games.
Yeah, play any game that was on the CPS2 as though it was real, through a real JAMA setup. And that is a thing that I would definitely want to do. They were expensive, they're like $400, but it'd be worth it because the two boards would be $400. So yeah. So that's going to be it for us this week. Thanks everybody for hanging out. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream, and we'll see you next week with something else.
Bye-bye.
Bye.